Welcome to Patrick's Scale Studio. My name is Patrick. I'll be your host. As you can see, we've got quite a bit more here than just Fletcher, as the thumbnail for the video and title suggests that it's going to be about Fletcher. And it just so happens I've got other ships, U.S. naval ships, in fact. This one, in fact, even from the same time period, so chances are they're going to share a lot of colors, including coats of primer. So these 1/350th scale ships will get featured in upcoming videos here, but for the time being, let's focus on Fletcher. I'm going to go ahead and get the rest of this out of the way. Be right back. Okay, let's have a look here at what we've got. What have I done since last time here? You notice that these two splinter shields here are attached. And I did that so that when I go to attach this, just snaps right into place there with that piece of superstructure. But that way, because we're doing the measure 12 scheme, some of the squiggly paint is going to be going up onto these splinter shields. So I wanted to make sure I got them integrated there with the hull right now at this point for that smooth transition period. And I did get these put in such a way so that they should be just very, the superstructure piece will just snap into place when it's time. There we go. I'll go ahead and remove that. Also, went ahead and down here put on some Mr. Finishing Servicer 1500 black, and then up here Mr. Finishing Servicer 1500 gray. Additionally, also did that on the deck. So at this point now, what we're going to be doing is painting. I need to get this hull painted and all taken care of before we can move on to all the fun stuff on top of it. So how are we going to do that? Well, of course, we're going to be using hull red, which is, to me, is XF9 on the bottom. But because we've already got black here, I like black when I'm putting down dark colors. Because we're putting down it would take normally many coats. So I like having a primer down. I'm going to go ahead then and follow up on top of the brown with NATO brown here in some pretty large splotches. And then on top of that, I'm going to go here and follow up with some XF57 buff in some very controlled areas and applications to kind of highlight some upper edges when we put this down. And again, if this is thinned down well enough, then that should help provide some pre-shading to the paint job. Following that, we're going to go ahead and hit it with a little bit of really thinned down flat red XF7 mixed in with a little bit of the XF9, and that should allow us also to add further highlights in a post highlighting. I get a lot of people call it post shading, but I guess I'd call it post highlighting application there. Again, just to try to offer a little bit of tonal variation on the whole, and otherwise what would there be really boring dark red color. So we will go ahead and get on with getting started on that. Okay, I've got the XF68 tomato native brown thinned down to about 3 parts paint, 4 parts Mr. Color Leveling Thinner, and I'm going to go ahead and load up my airbrush and proceed with applying this in kind of a overall very light coat, and then possibly concentrating on some other areas that might see a little bit more light, might need a little bit of highlight. So I'll go ahead and get started on that. And yes, I did end up putting together the stupid stand here. I super glued a little bit of felt there to it just while I'm actually currently doing this and getting the hull done before I get it mounted to the finished base. I just want to go ahead and use that in with the felt. It kind of keeps things safe, protects the paintwork. So we'll go ahead and start and see how this sprays. And I'm only going to be paying attention mainly to where the hull red would be on this hull. Okay, and you can see here, kind of put a pause on the airbrushing a little bit. As you can see, this is not just one opaque NATO brown paint job on here. Some of the black is still showing through, and that's intentional. So I'm going to go ahead and finish up on this hole. Out of color. Go ahead and set this down. And that's just as well. And go ahead and, for the most part, now I've got that really thin coat on there, so I can go around and pick out some areas where I want to put down just a little bit extra color. And find maybe a couple areas here where I have missed. What this will help do is highlight some areas for the whole red to really show up better. I won't have to apply so much whole red in order to get it to show up against the black Mr. Surfacer. Some things you can also do is to kind of give an indication of any kind of hole plating. Some of it can start to look kind of busy here when you're doing it, so just bear that in mind. I'll move this into camera range here. One of the benefits of using the Mr. Surfacer leveling, or I'm sorry, the Mr. Color leveling thinner, is it dries so incredibly quick. You can almost begin handling your project within a minute of laying down any kind of color. Kind of that up and down. I don't know really that I would classify it as trying to simulate hole plating. Mainly as incorrect. It just kind of tries to help break up the monotonous whole red. Give the red a little bit of interest than just looking like a toy. All right, go ahead and here and finish up front. Cool. Alrighty. Again, because I'm doing multiple United States naval ships that all take some whole red, I'm going to go over and visit them real quick with the thinned brown, and we will return back with Fletcher when we got the next color loaded up. See you in a sec. Okay, so I'm just going to have a quick look here. All right. Next step here is going to be some very, very heavily thinned XF57. To me, it's buff. And again, it's just, didn't want to use pure white. It just looked the part, so that's what we're going to go with. Kind of mainly just going to try to do almost like a zenithal highlight kind of thing, and just spray it from afar, spray it at a downward angle, and see what hits and what sticks. That's what I'm going to go for. So just stand by here while we get to work on that. Alright, again, this is very heavily thin. I would say there's probably 5 to 6 parts Mr. Leveling Thinner to 1 part paint. Yeah, I had to take my watch off so I don't accidentally hit that while I'm doing this. Let's go ahead and see what this looks like. Just from pretty far back, and yeah, there we go. We can kind of see a little bit of highlight right there on the upper surface, which is good. This is what I wanted. It stands to reason if you're looking at this from the side, the red is definitely going to be brighter from where you're looking at it. From the side, it's going to be lighter than it would be on the bottom of the hole. So we go back over this with some pretty heavily thinned whole red and just build it up in layers. Then that should help some of this pre-shading shine through. All right. So again, we already have a bit of contrast, a bit of variation there. We'll go ahead and work on this other side now. I know this is not the world's greatest streaming camera, so it might not come through very, very clearly for you, but definitely is showing up as much lighter here on the upper surface of like this, the propeller shaft and its supports. than it is down below. Likewise with the bilge keel here. So one thing I kind of got over here that I liked was I got a little bit of that buff sticking right around where the boot line's going to meet. I'm going to go ahead and do the same over here. I don't think I'm overly concerned about doing this toward the rear. You can see this is kind of like the size of a billboard just sticking out at you. This right here, we're not going to see a whole lot of that whole red beneath the boot line, so I'm not overly concerned with this. But over here, I think it would definitely help enhance the look. And that's it for the buff going on there. Kind of help highlight some of the surfaces that might naturally need to be a little bit brighter than, say, the very, very bottom of the ship. So I'm going to go ahead and let's put it upside down while that dries. Our next step after this is going to be some thin coats of whole red. So be back here in just a second for you. Okay, so now I am ready to put on a heavily thinned coat of, to me, is whole red XF9, and I thin this maybe 3 parts thinners to 1 part paint. And I'm going to go ahead and apply this lightly, trying to hold on to a little bit of the very subtle pre-shading. Alright, so just bear with me here. We're going to hit the top sides of these propeller supports. And again, I'm going pretty lightly. That's a pretty strong color. Sorry about the weird angles, folks. I imagine the focus on my cheap camera is also making it kind of difficult on us. Apologies in advance. I'm gonna put this aside here for a second, and we're starting to get that deeper whole red color now. So this is looking quite a bit better. Go ahead and put it back right here on its stand. I'm going to proceed with applying this a little bit more of a larger general thin pattern. And it's okay to go up past above where the boot line would be, just to make sure we get the paint coverage there. Usually nice. I usually have a turntable to kind of help facilitate moving this around. I'm kind of foregoing that this evening. Now keep in mind, this does look pretty dark still, and this will get followed up with a brighter color. I'm going to take some XF7 and mix it into some of this whole red, and that should give us the ability to add some highlights. Very, very subtle highlights, because I don't want it sticking out like a candy apple red car or anything like that, and the XF7 is a pretty bright red. Now, while I've got it on this side here, I'm going to go ahead and get the back side of the propeller shaft and its supports. Nothing real strong though. I'm not worried about saturating this color into that right there because this is going to be in the shadows. So when the perspective viewer comes along to have a look, you'll normally have that kind of a shaded color. Same thing here on the top side of this, the bottom side of this bilge keel. I'm not too worried about oversaturating it with color right there. And due to this paint being so thin, what initially looks like a pretty heavy coverage will start to fade back as soon as it starts drying. And with the amount of leveling thinners in here, it will start drying almost immediately. To the point where you can even usually handle it pretty lightly afterwards. Let me get our rudder. So far so good. I'm still getting a little bit of a subtle effect right there. I'll move up to the bow. Oh. And then it's time to add some more paint. When I say paint, I should just say adding thinner, because that's primarily what is in the airbrush cup right now. There we go. Slow, very gradual buildup of color. You don't want to completely obliterate the post shading here, but we do want to give it that whole red color for sure. Alright, let me put this aside. Let's have a look at how we've done so far. There we go. That looks like a whole red. Go ahead and turn the whole affair around. Those splinter shields, I thought I was being clever with getting them in place. They are very, very delicate. So I've already noticed an area where I'm going to have to go in and re-glue a spot. That's okay. I'm a little bit more active here in this build after finishing the SR-71. I'll be a little bit more mindful that they're there. Try to make sure that I am less prone to breaking them where they are joined to the hull. Alright, there we can see that the bow is just about finished. Alright, move this over here a little bit to keep us in camera. Going to be about time to mix up some more. A little boo-boo there, that's okay. These things tend to happen. Once we get the all the colors of the hull on, we'll seal it up with a clear coat, and the little scratches and nicks will be a thing of the past. And anything we add will be intentional. Alright, so with that, I have applied Tamiya's XF9 hull red. So the next step then will of course be to add a little bit of the XF7 and heavily thin that down and find some highlight spots just to give it a little bit more variation here in the tones and the color in general. So I'll be right back here when I have that mixed up. Okay, last step for the hull red, and possibly the last step for this particular video, is going to be going ahead and applying something that's a little bit of a lighter shade, and it's pretty heavily thin too. In fact, you can see it already starting to separate there slightly with some thinners at the top. So we will kind of re-agitate this a little bit, add it to our cup, and I'm going to be concentrating more on putting this lighter red up here and trying to highlight some of the smaller bits down here, just to kind of help them stand apart from the rest of the hull. And get this nice and re-agitated. Alright. In the airbrush cup it goes. Alright, because I want a little bit more control here, I'm going to go ahead and dial in the spray. Alright, much better. So let's go ahead and move this stand back a little bit. And you might notice I can go ahead and repair that splinter shield up there with a little bit of Tamiya fast setting extra thin. And so my next step after that will be going over that with some really fine sandpaper, just to make sure I don't have any glue marks. I think this will really help the that red pop right up on the boot line. You also kind of see here I'm trying to highlight some of this little rivet and plate detail. I don't need so much of the post shading up top, so it's okay if that starts to kind of fall away. But the goal here is to achieve more of a brighter whole red color. Right where it meets up with the boot line. So that's kind of what I'm going for. And then the rest of it can kind of fall away into darkness. I just realized you can't see what I'm doing, probably. And again, it's quite alright that this this color is extending above where the water line is going to be. And the black stripe and the boot line, as I've been calling it, I think others call it. I'm just trying to lay this down and very, very controlled. Alright, so now it's a little bit more red. I'm going to open this up a touch. And we're going to go for just a general overall down here. It's still very dark down here. Alright, then up here I'm going to try to get some of these details that are kind of hanging out here. Propeller supports the propeller shaft. A little bit on the bottom of the rudder because it's going to stand out. And then I want to really get this silk steel, kind of help it stand apart as well. Definitely standing apart now. Alright, so one of the other things I have done on previous hulls here is I did a little bit of vertical striping, and again just to kind of give it a little color variation. Go ahead and re-agitate. Put more in there. I'm going to be right up on the hull, so I want this to be pretty thin. It's okay that it's going up above. And all we're looking here for is a little bit of color modulation or color variation. Just to give it kind of that look of metal that's been exposed to the elements. It's been expanding and contracting. Actually not quite so harsh as what it's showing up here on your end, and that's mainly just because of the high contrast between what I'm holding and what's behind it, which is this white towel. I'm going to go ahead and turn this over. Now it's very important. Note that I'm putting my fingers on the very bottom of the hull. I don't want to have my hands and my finger oils where the where the paint is that I just laid down. So I'm going to go ahead and just start doing the same thing that I did on the port side. I think for this video, this is just going to be part one of painting the hull. And the main reason behind that is I've got all the printouts of the camouflage pattern on this, but I don't have anything cut out on tape yet. And I preferred to get something out sooner rather than later. Summertime is just that busy time where there's so much going on outside. Lawn maintenance, garden maintenance. So with everything else going on around us, and being that it's life in general and family, work, it kind of takes importance over this. That said, it has been raining quite a bit in Cincinnati. It has given me a little bit more time at my workbench. Yeah, it's still pretty dark. Kind of see here where it's starting to develop that whole red color now, and even some of the pre-shading is still present, which is good. Alright, so again, just gonna open my spray up a little bit. And lay down some very light mist coats here. And it's standing out nicely. And our propeller. Before, a little bit of the rudder, kind of help it stand apart. And at that point, I'm very pleased with where this is at right now, as far as just the whole red. Go ahead and put this back on its stand and allow it to dry, and we will close things out on this video. Okay, that's pretty much going to wrap things up for this particular video, just kind of like the part one of painting the hull. When we come back, what we're going to be doing is I'm going to be using my waterline marker, marking the bottom of the black boot stripe, painting in black, masking off the top edge of that boot stripe, and then starting to lay down the various grays up on top here. Should also hopefully be able to get the camouflage scheme integrated in that video as well. I would like to be done with painting the hull so I can move on to really fitting out the ship with its various superstructure and its guns, the torpedoes, the depth charges, all that fun stuff, which is really what you look forward to when you get into some of these ship builds like this, and just kind of super detailing a lot of the different things. So I'm going to go ahead and leave that to dry for a couple of days. Make sure everything is satisfactory before we start masking it up. So until next time, stay safe and happy modeling.